Well, have you heard the story of the three little pigs? No? Well, let me tell you. There was triplets born a long time ago, triplet pigs, and it was time for them to leave the pig pen. So Mom patted them on the rump, sent them out the door, and said, go forth and, have fun. Go build your life. So they did, and they went down the road, and they found a cute little street, and they decided that they were going to build their houses here, and they were going to build them all next to each other because they kind of liked each other a little bit. And the first one, though, was a little bit lazy. So he just built his house out of straw. Just took some straw bales, put them up, and I'm done. I can go play now. And the other one wasn't quite as lazy, and he decided that he would build his out of sticks. So he built his out of sticks. But the other one worked all day long, worked really, really hard all day long, and built her house out of brick. Well, the next day, the big wolf comes walking down the street, and he smells fresh pork. And he sees this little straw hut. And he goes over and he knocks on the door and he goes, open up. No, Mr. Wolf, I'm not opening up. He says, I'm going to huff and I'm going to puff and I'm going to blow your house down. And he did. And the little pig ran out and ran over to his brother's house, ran into the sticks. And here comes the wolf. Now he smells a double delicacy, right? And he huffs and he puffs and he blows that one down too. And they run over to their sister's house. Please let me in, let me in. She's like, oh my gosh, now what? Okay, fine. So they come in, and here comes the wolf. He knocks on the door, let me in. They're like, I don't think so. He says, I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll puff and I'll huff and I'll huff and I'll puff, and he couldn't blow the house down. Well, the little piglets lived happily ever after. The wolf went away, and the sister wasn't quite so happy because she had her brother sleeping on her couch for a while. But you know the moral of the story, right? That we build things to last. We build things the right way. We do those things. Those are the metaphors around that. So how do we use this idea of the three pigs and their construction in constructing our prosperity consciousness? That's what we're talking about today. We are wrapping up our month. Can you believe it already? October, and our prosperity series for 2020. This is the last day. Not the last day of your prosperity. It's the first day of your prosperity. But our talk today is bridges that last. So I was thinking about it from that perspective on building a consciousness that lasts. And if we've studied prosperity principles over the years, and many of us have, and yet you find that your house, your portfolio, your relationships are blown down, right? We've all felt that way sometimes. Maybe it's time for us to make a bit more of an investment in the basic structure and follow the example of the sister pig. Build us a brick house, right? That song keeps coming in my mind every time I say that, the brick house. So this month, we have looked at reflection, the law of reflection. If you were here for Reverend Karen, we started off the month of the law of cause and effect and how that worked with prosperity. And then we looked at Tasha Silver, the book that we were studying, and her 5 divine steps of prosperity. And then last week, we looked at forgiveness as part of our prosperity principles as well. And these are the raw materials. These are the raw materials that we'll be working with. But I want to look at the process. I want to look at the process of actually building our prosperity consciousness. If you want to build lasting prosperity, not one of straw or sticks, the first thing we need is a vision. Would you agree? We need a vision. What is my prosperity house going to look like? Is it going to be sticks or hay or brick or something else? What's it going to look like? How do I define it? What is it that I desire it to be, and how do I want to experience that? If you remember the workshop I did a year or so ago where we talked about living from the bloom, living from the blossom, we talked about how we had to project ourselves into our manifestations so that we could feel what it's going to feel like once we achieve them. And that's sort of what we're talking about here, this idea of vision. A lot of times I think we say we want to change in our life. We want more abundance or prosperity or a relationship or whatever that change might be, but we don't spend the time to really imagine that in our mind. And you heard about my beloved music stand for all these years, right? That it was first an idea in someone's mind before it ever got manufactured. And that is the creative process, and it works the same for us. So if we say we want more prosperity or abundance in our life, but we don't yet have that picture, that idea in our mind of what that experience is, we've got to disconnect. We've got to disconnect. If we don't have a clear picture, we won't have a clear outcome, right? Won't have a clear outcome. So the next step is to create a blueprint for our new consciousness, a blueprint. Now that we have the vision, it's time to commit it to paper. Again, that's the first manifestation. That two-dimensional drawing is the first form that our manifestation takes before it can become reality for us. And this is where we work out all the bugs. Anybody ever built anything custom in your life or seen a set of blueprints or gone through some of that stuff? You know, you get the draft set and then you start going through and making changes, and the architect makes changes, and then it comes back and you make more changes, and then, you know, you go through that process of working out the bugs. And the same is true with this vision of our prosperity, because it's perhaps not something that we've experienced at the level we're now trying to create. So we might have to just work out some things to get ourselves to true belief that, yeah, this is my plan. This is my house. When I used to sell new homes a long time ago, one of the sales signals that we looked for was when the people would come in, and we loved when it was families, and they would start talking about, well, the sofa could go here, and then little Susie's desk could go over there, and the stereo can go here, and the speakers would fit. The speakers, they're moving in, right? We were looking for that signal that they were moving themselves into the house. And what we knew is the same thing that we're teaching here, of course, which is that's part of the creative process. They were mentally picturing and moving into that, so all we had to do was close the sale at that point. So the same is true with us in our closing the sale of our new prosperity consciousness. So we've got our plan, and we need to select some building materials now, right? If you get a plan, then you have to select some building materials. What's the quality of your project? What's the quality of the project that you're going to do? In construction management, we typically look at a project and evaluate it from the standpoint of its schedule, quality, or budget. And we talk to the owner about which of those is your priority. And then we manage the project accordingly. That becomes our priority. If someone says they've got a finite budget, they've only got X dollars to spend, not a penny more, that's how we manage the project. Now we might have to sacrifice the schedule. We might have to sacrifice the budget, not the budget, the quality a little bit. You know, if you only have X dollars, I can't upgrade your chandeliers to Waterford now, can I? Right? Now, if schedule's important, you've got a deadline that you've got to make the date. I also can't upgrade your tile to the Italian tile imported that's going to take 10 weeks to get here, right? So those are sort of the things that happen in the construction world. However, in building our prosperity consciousness, I think we need to find balance in those, don't you? I think we need to find balance in those three things. What is the quality of the materials that you're currently working with? What are the qualities that you're working with right now? What is your prosperity consciousness today? Imagine a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is absolute opulence. Where are you on the scale of 1 to 10? Think about that. What are you starting with? If it's less than 10, how are you going to upgrade your materials? What are you going to be doing to do that? What prosperity teachers are you studying? We know that study is one of the 5 pillars of spiritual transformation. If we are not achieving our current desire, we need some new information, right, to change our perspective of how we're approaching prosperity. You've got a lot of teachers out there. Catherine Ponder is wonderful for her prosperity principles. Eric Butterworth, Karen Rousseau that was here, she has the money keys. Abraham Hicks, Louise Hay, Ernest Holmes, Science of Mind has a whole chapter called The Law of Attraction. And Edwene Gaines, of course, is one of my favorites. If you like a Southern accent, she's delightful. So there's many, many prosperity teachers available to support us in our transformation and the study of prosperity principles. So that's improving the quality, if you will, of our prosperity consciousness project. The next item is our schedule, which of course is so important to our success. What time commitment are you willing to make to do the work? What time commitment are you willing to make to do the work? Are you willing to build a lasting prosperity consciousness? Not one that can be blown down, bricks or like sticks and hay, but one that is lasting, one that is always there for you. Did you know that the Windsor Castle, the Queen's favorite castle, she says, for the weekends, took 16 years to build? It was started in 1070. It's been remodeled over the centuries many, many times, but 16 years to build it. What is your commitment that you're willing to make to your prosperity consciousness? It was Jim Collins, if you're familiar with Built to Last, or what's the other one he wrote? Good to Great, Built to Last. He wrote those books. He says, what comes easy won't last long, and what lasts long won't come easy. Lasting things take an investment, don't they? Think about your relationships, your career or creative endeavors, finances, health. We have to make investments in those things, don't we? You know, if we have a relationship with someone, a friend or a significant other, we have to invest in that, don't we? Some time, some attention. And our career, if we're many of us in the room, I know, take continuing education classes to keep licenses up to date. And imagine if you were seeing a physician who got his or her license in 1960 and hasn't taken any continuing education. Are you going to get the best of today's service in medicine and science and everything? You know, maybe not. Maybe not. So continuing to educate ourselves in our field of endeavor keeps us at the leading edge of that, keeps us at the leading edge. And learning about our finances. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not one of my favorite things. I hire people that help me with that because I'm not, I don't have a lot of interest in going deep and understanding all that. But what I've realized over the years, that as I have become better equipped at understanding what's happening, that it builds my confidence, it boosts my confidence in that arena so that I'm more confident in dealing with people that are helping me with it, right? And there's a sense of comfort and security in knowing that, about budgeting and investing and understanding markets and things like that. So educating ourselves is again, a piece of this work that we're doing right now. So scheduling time for you and your project. Scheduling time for you and your project. Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living and the author of The Science of Mind, tells us in The Science of Mind, we do not change all of the patterns of our thinking in a moment. Doesn't happen quite like that. Rather, it takes place little by little until gradually the old thought patterns become transformed into new ones by some inner alchemy of the mind, the operation of which we do not see, but the manifestation of which we do experience. We do experience. Think about how old you are right now, whatever your age is right now. That's how long it's taken you to get to where you are today with your prosperity consciousness. Now, the good news is that it is in our divine nature to live a prosperous life. So it's much easier to come back into alignment with our divine nature than these many years it's taken us to wreck our prosperity consciousness through believing in lack and limitation and such. So it's an easier process to bring us into alignment with what's true for us than it is to not have the prosperity awareness that we are seeking to have. So let's move to the final piece of this, and that's the budget. That's the budget. And I'm not really talking about cash in this instance, but the cost of letting go. The cost of letting go, the cost of surrendering all the old ideas, the limiting beliefs, all of the things that are not serving us to bring forward the prosperity in our lives. And remember, prosperity is not just money. Prosperity is in our health, our relationships, our career. It's a prosperous attitude, right? And so what are we willing to give up? How are we going to release those beliefs in lack and limitation? Tasha's book, It's Not Your Money. It's about surrendering. And we're surrendering to the truth that God is our source. God is our source. And really embodying that, getting that at a very deep and profound level, to recognize that we can let go of this thing called control, right? That we don't really have anyway. She says, instead of grasping and chasing, what if we offered everything? Our money, or lack of it, our triumphs, our problems, our desires, fully back to love. What if this offering itself was actually the secret to abundance? This is the spiritual practice of tithing. Many of you have shared with me your experience of tithing and how scary it was to start the practice, and the things that you felt and you went through as you began to commit to that spiritual practice. Many of us think, oh, I can be spiritual in my relationship, I can be spiritual in my health, maybe even in my career, but not my money, right? Not my money. We're not going spiritual. God's not getting in my money. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And what Tasha is suggesting to us, and what our tithing practice does, is helps us break through that limiting belief that we have any control over it in the first place, right? And it helps us to rewire ourselves to be givers without attachment. A lot of times we give with some expectation of return. And the thought that came to me today was sometimes giving to the homeless. I've heard people say, oh, I don't ever give to the homeless. They just buy drugs or alcohol. And it's like, how do we know? How do we know that drug they're buying is not their insulin? How do we know that they're not paying that forward and buying another buddy some lunch? How do we know that they're not buying food for their dog? How do we know that they're not using that to make a phone call home? How do we don't. But we project. So the idea of giving without expectation is what this tithing practice is about, to recognize that we're simply a conduit through which God flows. We're a conduit through which God flows, which includes all of the good, includes all of the money, includes everything. God is the source. Tithing also gets us to begin to trust that in a bigger way. Because what we find when we step into it is that things didn't fall apart. I still have enough to eat. Oh my gosh. And good things are starting to flow to me. Holy smokes. We begin to trust that more. And finally, we break the idea of mine. We break the idea of mine. And Tasha's book has been very good at that. So when we give as God gives, we open that door within us that's already in existence for abundance to flow. We open the door for that. So another part of this construction project is doing some demolition work. And this is probably a historic remodel, would you think? Yeah, it's probably a historic remodel. We've got this beautiful historic property that we've been familiar with for many, many years. It's got good bones and good structure and all that, but some of the things need to be updated. And so we've got to demo out the old pink toilets and things like that, or in our case, some of our old beliefs and so forth. We have to demo some of that stuff out, tear them down. And we might have to do some exploration. If you go into a historic property, you might have to poke around in the basement a little bit and see what's down there. and see if there's any shoring up that needs to happen. And we find that within our own hidden beliefs and things. And again, it's finding the trust in the divine. Finding the trust in the divine. Faith in God as our source with many resources. And I think we sometimes get that confused. God is the source with many resources that they flow through. Those resources flow through to us. Building anything that lasts. A relationship, an organization, a product, our prosperity consciousness. Building anything that lasts requires desire, discipline, and a willingness to actually do it. Not complain about it, but to actually do it, right? To actually do the work. Having prosperity consciousness is a state of mind. We've talked about that all month, that it's not just money, it's about this state of mind and state of being. And so is poverty consciousness. The choice is up to us, isn't it? We can choose prosperity or we can choose poverty. It's like we talked last week about waking up first thing in the morning. Are we choosing a prosperity consciousness for the day? Are we choosing to think prosperously all day? Or are we waking up with poverty thoughts of lack, of limitation, of fear, of, oh, ain't it awful? The choice is really ours. And it was like Ernest said, change our thinking, right? We can choose to change our thinking. So let's take a look at our spiritual practices and see how we might change our thinking this week. We're going to just review what we went through here, which is our vision. Our vision is our first step. Now, if you're not on our weekly mailing on Monday mornings for Mindful Mondays, you can sign up in the lobby if you're here. If you're online, you can send us an email and we'll get you on that list. We've got a pretty good list of folks that are receiving that now, and it's the quotes and details on the practices and a few other notes and comments and things that you can use in your practice throughout the week. So again, number one is our vision. And this takes an investment of some quiet time. Some time to be still and to really look at, where am I? Where do I want to be? What is that going to look like? And really assessing where we are right now. Are we in poverty, prosperity? Is it just enough? Is it more than enough? Is it luxury? Is it opulence? You know, where is your comfort zone with prosperity consciousness? Look at your health and your finances, your relationships, and career, and get specific. Get specific. Uncover what you really think and believe prosperity is for you. This is also a place we get to check on our beliefs around who we are. Do we believe that we are the magnificence of spirit in form? Are we dealing with some worthiness issues that's tied and linked to our prosperity? This is the time and the place that we begin to do that. We do that deeper work at the vision stage of building our consciousness. Once we have that, it's like the blueprint, and that's our second step, is to craft your blueprint. Craft your blueprint. Write down the vision and how it feels to live it. Wow, now that I am prosperous in my health, I am healthy and glowing and active, and I feel good, I feel well rested, I'm alert, I'm attentive, I'm prosperous in my health, right? Or if it's finances or relationships. Check at that blueprint frequently. Make sure that it's still up to date. Continue to tweak it as you go through this building process. And our third step is letting go of the old beliefs. This might take the most time because many of us are pretty grounded in those beliefs. We've got a little yeah, but going on. Yeah, but. And we listen to the world of effects and think that that's true and that's reality when it's not. God is our source. And when we can embody that, we can begin to let go of some of these other beliefs that have told us that it's not. That our paycheck is, or that our retirement accounts are, or that Social Security is, or that some other resource is. Those are resources, not the source. Those are resources. So other things we have to do and let go of is the complaining and criticizing of money or people who have it. Have you ever been in the grocery store or any store and been in line behind somebody that was getting ready to pay, and they open up their wallet and it looks like an explosion has gone off in it? You know, the bills are all which way and there's receipts flying out of it, and it's just a mess, and they can't find what they need, and they bring all their money out and they're counting all their money out trying to find it and organize. Have you ever seen somebody like that? Yeah. Is that a sacred vessel for their abundance? No. Our wallets are our sacred vessel for the good of God to flow through. And we align those dollars and we keep our receipts organized. You know, that's how we begin to establish that prosperous consciousness. Simple thing, isn't it? Simple thing. So we stop complaining and criticizing. We stop listening to others talk negatively about it, right? We stop listening. We let go of believing there's not enough or there's a limited amount. Oh, well, they got all the goodies. I won't get any, right? We think there's a limited pie. There's not. God is unlimited, unlimited. And listen to your conversations and your thinking around prosperity and catch yourself. That's the way we make change. Maybe you're very strong in your money. Maybe you got it all together in money, but relationships just don't work. Or maybe your health is not where you want it to be. Or maybe the career is bumping along and not bringing you joy. Look at the areas of your life where you are opulent and prosperous and ask yourself why. Why does this work so good and that doesn't? What am I doing over here in this realm of my life that's making it work and this one's not? And apply those principles that are already working for you in the other realm of your life. If it works in one area, it's going to work in all areas. It's going to work in all areas. So our state of mind or a state of being is demonstrated through our thoughts and our actions. This is that law of reflection again, right? If you want to know what we're thinking about, look around our life. If you want to know if you're prosperous, look around your life. So we look back to the law of reflection, and that life is reflecting back to us the state of our mind, whatever that is. Whatever that is. If I'm feeling happy and prosperous, I attract happy and prosperous things. If I'm feeling tense and angry, I'm attracting tense and angry things. And I come home going, what is wrong with everybody today? Everybody's so angry, right? Yeah, it's me. Our consciousness and mental attitudes towards life, including money and abundance and success, all of that stuff directly affects how we experience our world and what we call into our world. That's the law of attraction. That old adage, you've probably heard it, we become what we think. Yeah, it's true, right? And we have the power to change our thinking. That's the beauty of the way this stuff works. So remember, a prosperity consciousness is not about just financial success. It's about life success, isn't it? It's about living a successful life for yourself. It affects our state of health, our well-being, and our happiness. Our state of well-being, happiness. So if we know this, does it make sense to be a little bit more like the sister pig and build a brick house? Yeah. So what action can you take today? Clean out your wallet, right? If that's something that if you've got one of those wallets, clean out your wallet. File your bank statements. It was the ancient poet Rumi who said, life is a balance of holding on and letting go. And that's kind of what we do with this. We hold on and we let go. We hold on and we let go. So I would invite you now to join me for an affirmative prayer as we bring this into our prosperity awareness today. So just breathing in and recognizing that infinite power and presence, the power of the breath, the power of the divine. We recognize that God is all. It is the prosperity of the universe. The universe is so abundantly supplied. We see it everywhere with the stars, the planets, the sand on the beach, the air we breathe. We are so abundantly sourced of all that we need. And so I know that we are all one in this one, connected in the infinite mind of God, the one heart. We are that love in form. And I know and claim for us today that we open the door to the abundance that we are, and we allow it to flow through us with ease and with grace and with joy, releasing and letting go of anything that doesn't serve our highest good. We welcome the transformation of our awareness into the abundance of the good of God through us, recognizing God as our source, and there are an infinite number of resources through which that can flow to us and through us. And I know today, for anyone that has anything on their heart, that as they bring that awareness to the front of their mind, that we know that whatever it is healed, it is blessed, it is released, it is circulated. Whatever it is, if there's a question, it is answered. And so, with great gratitude, I accept the manifestation of this prayer, knowing that it is done and it is so. As we release it into the action and activity of law, we know that it is done. And we affirm that together by saying, and so it is.